feeling ashamed, opening the door to a new world. One strategic move. The next day, Mulan woke up very early to practice martial arts. After a half an hour of practice, she showered and changed her clothes. "Xiaobing, I have a blue linen dress. Do you think it's all right?" Mulan asked. Mulan didn't only wear silk and satin, sometimes she also wore linen dresses because as the Earl's eldest daughter, she had to symbolically participate in the spring plowing and harvest, and a linen dress was suitable for such occasions. "No, I don't," Xiaobing said. "I washed it a few days ago and put it away. Isn't it there?" "That's right," Mulan said. "It's really strange. It was clearly in the wardrobe, but it's gone." Immediately, Mulan's exquisitely beautiful face suddenly turned red, and she secretly cursed. Xiaobing said, "Miss, how about I ask around in the courtyard? Look everywhere." "Don't look," Mulan quickly said. "Maybe I casually left it in the military camp." After breakfast in the morning, Shen Lang walked up to Mulan and said gently and sincerely, "My dear wife, you've been busy outside for 2 days and 2 nights. You must be exhausted." Mulan replied. Then she hesitated slightly, wondering whether or not to say something. For example, "Husband, my dresses, underwear and such, please don't get them dirty. Even if they get dirty, it doesn't matter. Just remember to wash them clean and put them back where they belong. I still want to wear them." And also, words like, "Husband, take care of your body." But she found herself unable to utter a single word. After all, not everyone had a thick skin like her husband, impervious to criticism. So, she chose to continue reading her book. In this matter, she was wronging Shen Lang. He cooked Mulan's dress not to do something unspeakable, but to do something even more unspeakable. Shen Lang said, "My dear wife, is your waist aching? Your neck sore? Your humble husband is heartbroken, truly. How about I give you a massage to stretch your tendons and bones, my dear wife?" Mulan said, "My husband knows how to do that too?" "Of course your humble husband knows many things," Shen Lang said. "Then I'll trouble my husband." Mulan sat up straight, her slender neck instantly like a swan, her waist and hips curving like lines sketched by a master, alluring and captivating. This figure truly made one intoxicated and mesmerized. However, Shen Lang's breathing only became chaotic for 3 seconds. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. There's important business. Important business. After Shen Lang's mood stabilized, he placed his right hand on Mulan's neck, applying a slight pressure. Mulan let out an incredibly comfortable sigh. Truly. It felt so good. In that instant, her delicate body indeed felt a trembling sensation. There was no way around it. Shen Lang's technique was truly the most professional. Although it might not compare with Lingran next door, they were both doctors, so their techniques shouldn't be too different. Shen Lang found every acupuncture point with extreme precision. The strength was also absolutely perfect. Therefore, Mulan felt an incredible sensation of soreness and exhilaration, as if her tendons and meridians were being pulled open one by one and then relaxed. This was truly an excellent enjoyment. "My dear wife, you're so tight," Shen Lang said. Mulan closed her beautiful eyes and said, "Husband, although I don't understand, I know you're being a hooligan." No, I mean, your skin is so tight." Mulan couldn't help but cross her legs tightly. The hooligan comment was fine without explanation, but with the explanation, she understood. "Husband, if you act like a hooligan again, I'll have to make you exercise your body again," Mulan said with a faint threat. Engineer Shen Lang quickly shut up and continued to serve attentively, lest joy turn into sorrow. Under his devoted service, Mulan felt waves of refreshing pleasure, one after another, making her want to fall asleep, yet she couldn't bear to sleep. "My dear wife, will you please not work so hard in the future? Your humble husband is truly heartbroken," Shen Lang said fervently. As he spoke, he massaged diligently, his focused attitude filled with concern. Mulan's heart was touched, but she immediately realized and said, "Husband, you have something you need from me, don't you?" No, Shen Lang said. "Am I that kind of person? Does serving one's own wife, feeling heartache for one's own wife need a reason?" Mulan said, "You truly don't have something to ask of me?" Shen Lang said, "Actually, there's a small matter, a very, very small matter." Mulan said, "Husband, tell me. If I can do it, I will. If I can't, there's nothing I can do." Then she added, "For example, if you want me to ask Father to lift your house arrest, I can't do it. Yesterday, as soon as I returned to the mansion, Father talked to me, saying you absolutely mustn't go out. It would be dangerous."
Shen Lang's hands stopped. "My dear wife, you read your book well. Your humble husband has some things to attend to. I'll take my leave now." Then, halfway through the massage, he simply ran off. Mulan was speechless. Her husband was just too realistic. If someone wouldn't do something for him, he immediately changed his tune. It was truly annoying. To leave someone hanging in midair and then run off? Shen Lang reappeared behind his mother-in-law. His massage techniques were even more skilled. His mother-in-law enjoyed it immensely, so comfortable that her hairs stood on end. Not only that, but she also had a homemade face mask from Shen Lang on her face. "Mother-in-law, this mask should be done daily, each time not exceeding 15 minutes. A woman's skin, the most important things are hydration and sun protection. Although you already look very young, I am responsible for making you look the same 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I made a total of 10 masks, 6 for you." His mother-in-law asked, "Then the remaining 4 for Mulan?" "No, they're for myself," Shen Lang said. "The handsomer a man is, the more he needs maintenance." At this moment, even with his mother-in-law's intelligence and wisdom, she did not know how to respond to those words. Shen Lang massaged vigorously while sincerely praising his mother-in-law's youth and beauty. "Right now, you look like Mulan's older sister, but 10 years from now, who knows?" His mother-in-law said. "Oh, so I'll age faster in 10 years? No, perhaps by then you'll look like her younger sister. There's a term called reverse growth. Although it's a miracle, it's not impossible for it to happen." Full 15 minutes later, Shen Lang finished the massage and asked his mother-in-law, "How do you feel?" "So comfortable. My tendons and bones feel clear. Among my children, you're the most thoughtful. Mulan is fine, but I find Mutong annoying just looking at him." Shen Lang said, "The first moment I saw mother-in-law, I also felt a special connection, just like seeing my own mother." His mother-in-law said, "You married Mulan, so am I not your real mother?" Shen Lang immediately said, "Mother!" "Good boy." His mother-in-law said, "Langer, you have something you want to ask me, don't you?" Shen Lang said, "Mother-in-law truly has eyes like torch." His mother-in-law said, "Speak." Shen Lang said, "I want father-in-law to lift my house arrest. I have something I need to go out for." His mother-in-law's expression turned serious, and she said, "Langer, is it truly absolutely necessary to go out? Your father-in-law put you under house arrest for your safety." Shen Lang said seriously, "Yes, it's absolutely necessary to go out." His mother-in-law pondered for a moment and said, "All right, I'll talk to your father-in-law then." 15 minutes later, Shen Lang's house arrest was lifted. So in this world, there's nothing that can't be done. The key is whether you find the right person. Now, the entire ecosystem of the Earl's mansion was very familiar. Shen Lang listened to Mulan, Mulan listened to the Earl listened to his wife, and his wife listened to Shen Lang. See? What a perfect closed loop! What? You ask where Jin Mutong's position is? Sorry, on such a high-level ecosystem, how could there be a position for a fat slob? How does that famous saying that has circulated for a long time go? Eat, sleep, beat dodu. That's Jin Mutong's position as a fat slob. Inside the Xuanwu city lord's residence, Liu Yuan's confidant rushed into the study. Master, the governor's general's envoy has already departed from angering River City and can reach Xuanwu Earl's mansion tonight. The prefect is accompanying him personally. City Lord Liu Wuyan immediately became overjoyed. All preparations were complete, only lacking the east wind. Now the east wind had arrived. Inform Tian Hong to prepare immediately. We will act tonight. Yes. The confidant ran out swiftly. Liu Yuan said faintly, Shen Lang, I was never targeting you. My goal is Xuanwu Earl's mansion. But you stepped too far forward, so this time you naturally became cannon fodder. Xuanwu Earl, I'd like to see how you overcome this hurdle. Before leaving the Earl's mansion, Shen Lang found Jin Hui and asked a few questions. Then he left discreetly. After leaving the Earl's mansion, Shen Lang did not return home. Instead, he went into a dense forest. What is the most important thing for a person? Overcoming one's sense of shame. To defeat Tian Hong and City Lord Liu Yuan, some sacrifice of integrity is necessary. Shen Lang comforted himself again and again. Isn't it just women's clothes? If Sima Yi can wear them, why can't I, Shen Lang? To kill Tian Hong, this small price must be paid. Some taboos always need to be broken, and some doors to new worlds always need to be slightly opened. Shen Lang changed into Mulan's blue linen dress, becoming a graceful and beautiful cross-dressing master. Then he walked towards a certain place.
Utterly shameless to the extreme, scared to urinate. The big fool's father, Song Yi, was no ordinary commoner. He was a renowned hunter and also the leader of the Maple Leaf Village militia, with dozens of brothers under his command. At least in Maple Leaf Village, he was a bandit with a reputable standing. When he returned home and found that his son's eggs had been shattered by Shen Lang, he was naturally furious. His first thought was to kick Shen Lang to death. But that was just a thought. Shen Lang was inside the Xuanwu Earl's mansion. Trying to go after him would be pure suicide. His second thought was to retaliate against Shen Lang's parents and younger brother. But this idea was immediately dismissed by the village chief before it could even form. No matter what, Shen Lang was the son-in-law of the Xuanwu Earl's mansion. His parents were the Earl's in-laws. To lay a hand on them would also be pure suicide. So at this moment, Song Yi was crying out to heaven and earth, but no one answered. Heaven and earth are unfair. Of course, as for his act of abandoning the big fool, he felt no guilt whatsoever. Country folk all did that. If you got a serious illness and couldn't afford treatment, you'd be thrown into the mountains to await death. Moreover, this eldest son had a problem with his head and no future. But the younger son was different. Shrewd and ruthless from a young age, he could completely inherit his mantle. He was his lifeline. And now this lifeline had been kicked to pieces by Shen Lang. 2 eggs. This had completely ruined his hopes. Shen Lang, even if you are the Earl's son-in-law, I must avenge this. Song Yi immediately took his son to Xuanwu City for treatment. No matter how great the cost, he had to save his son's lifeline. But the doctors at the infirmary clearly stated that his son's lifeline probably couldn't be saved, and it needed to be immediately amputated or else it would be dangerous. The big fool's younger brother hadn't awakened in that aspect yet. When he learned that his eggs were going to be cut off, he wasn't overly saddened. Instead, he gritted his teeth and said, "Father, I want to enter the palace. I want to become a great eunuch, and then kill that idiot Shen Lang, and I want to kill his entire family." Song Yi tearfully agreed. This was also a strategy. After that, he went to find Tian Hong. Tian Hong was the Xuanwu City Militia's chiliarch, considered Song Yi's big boss. They had several enemies in common in Shen Lang, so they hit it off immediately. Tian Hong said, "Did your wife really see Shen Lang kick your son's face, Song Chong?" Song Yi said, "Yes." Tian Hong said, "Are you sure?" There were several villagers who saw Shen Lang rush into your house and then heard yelling and teasing sounds. Song Yi said, "Yes, they can come out and testify, but Shen Lang, that beast, is the Earl's son-in-law. This humble commoner fears he won't be successfully accused." Tian Hong sneered. "Can't be accused?" In ordinary times that might be true, but tonight two important figures would be visiting the Xuanwu Earl's mansion. At that time, it wouldn't be up to the Xuanwu Earl to decide. It wouldn't be as simple as just accusing Shen Lang. They would drag the entire Earl's mansion down with him. Tian Hong faintly said, "A life for a life. Even a prince who breaks the law is judged like a commoner, so let alone a mere son-in-law of an Earl's mansion. You find the witnesses and someone will surely uphold justice for you. If the Earl dares to protect Shen Lang, this murderer, I fear it will incite a popular uprising." Song Yi was stunned. Shen Lang hadn't killed anyone, he had only injured his son, crippling his lineage. Tian Hong smiled without speaking. Just injured? Is that crime enough? Someone's life must be lost for it to be enough. After all, only by killing someone can Shen Lang pay with his life. The big fool's stepmother, Song Yi, had originally been at the Xuanwu City Infirmary taking care of her son. But for some reason, she was sent back last night. It was as if someone deliberately wanted to send her away. At this moment, Madame Song was lying in bed, unable to eat or drink. If her son's eggs were cut off, her family line would be severed. What was she to do? But life still had to go on. Perhaps after her son entered the palace as a eunuch, he could rise quickly. Maybe in the future he could even let her live a life of glory and riches. As for continuing the family line, she was still young. At worst, she could just have another child with her husband. After thinking things through a bit, Madame Song picked up the honey water by the bed and drank half of it. For some reason, this honey water felt a little strange, but Madame Song still drank it all in one gulp. Then, the door to a new world opened. She felt an unprecedented emptiness, loneliness, and excitement. Her entire mind felt as if it had split in two. She became sharper than ever before. She could clearly hear the ants crawling outside and the dragonflies flapping their wings. Moreover, the entire world around her had changed, becoming streaks of light and shadow. Her whole body felt as if she had become an immortal, truly worthy of the world's #1 hallucinogen. The effect was too potent. Even though Shen Lang's refinement was very impure, its power was truly astonishing. Fortunately, Shen Lang only put a little in her honey water. Otherwise, Madame Song might not have even survived. She only felt herself floating and floating. Then, she fainted. Because Shen Lang had added other things to her honey water.
Overall voice. After an unknown period, Madame Song regained consciousness, but that strange feeling still lingered. However, everything around her suddenly became incredibly terrifying. It was still her home, but wisps of ghostly fire floated everywhere. There were also the wails of vengeful spirits, making her hair stand on end. Everything was like being in a realm of ghosts. The next second, a beautiful female ghost floated out wearing a blue dress. Madame Song's hair stood on end. It was truly a female ghost because she didn't walk, but simply glided over. Who are you?" Madame Song stammered, but found that she couldn't make any sound. This was truly encountering a ghost. She couldn't make a sound at all. The female ghost said, "Vicious woman, you actually harmed my big fool. Go to hell." Madame Song understood who this was. It was the big fool's birth mother, that woman who had died 20 years ago. She had incited her husband to throw the big fool into the ravine to await death, and she hadn't expected the big fool's birth mother to come from hell for revenge. Shen Lang truly felt sorry for himself for 3 seconds. Not only did he have to cross-dress, but he also had to impersonate a female ghost. Go to hell! A wisp of ghostly fire appeared out of nowhere in the female ghost's palm and suddenly flew towards Madame Song. The ghostly fire landed on her body, directly burning a large patch of her fair skin. The pain was incredibly intense, but she couldn't let out any screams at all. She grabbed a bowl of water from beside the bed and splashed it on the ghostly fire, but what was terrifying was that the ghostly fire didn't go out. Instead, it continued to burn. 2. It was truly terrifying. It was indeed ghostly fire. It couldn't even be extinguished by water. It was truly a ghost. "Sister, don't kill me! Don't kill me!" Madame Song cried desperately, begging for mercy, but her throat was hoarse and she couldn't make any sound. "The one who abandoned your son was Song Wei, not me!" Madame Song betrayed her husband without hesitation. The female ghost stepped forward, her icy hand gently patting the ghostly fire. The ghostly fire immediately extinguished. Then the female ghost's pale, slender fingers touched Madame Song's chest, but she couldn't quite resist, and she gently rubbed it. Immediately, Madame Song found herself unable to move. She could see, hear, and feel everything, but her limbs couldn't move, as if her entire body wasn't her own. This feeling was very familiar. It was sleep paralysis caused by a ghost. "Heaven takes pity, my son didn't die. He was saved by a blessed star from the heavens. But your son, Song Chong, is dead." Madame Song was shocked, desperately shaking her head and saying, "My son isn't dead. He's just about to be castrated. I'm going home to tidy up some things, and I'll go back to the city to take care of him immediately." "No, he's dead. And he died right now, and he died a terrible death. Guess who killed your son?" Immediately afterward, her voice changed from a woman's voice to a young man's voice. "Mother, I died a terrible death. I truly died a terrible death." This voice wasn't very similar to her son's Song Chong, but Madame Song instinctively substituted it, feeling that it was her son's voice. No, my son isn't dead," Madame Song desperately said, but still couldn't make any sound. The female ghost said, "Whether your son is dead or not, you will soon know. Song Wei will tell you when he returns, and he will say that he died from Shen Lang's violent blows, and that he was kicked in the lower gut and couldn't be cured. Then, the authorities will take you to the Earl's mountain to identify Shen Lang as the killer of your son. But the true killers of your son are Tian Hong and your husband, Song Wei. No, my son isn't dead, and I wish Shen Lang would die. I will definitely identify him." "How dare you?" the female ghost said coldly. "Do you want to die?" Then the female ghost's long fingernails suddenly scraped across the wall. A wisp of ghostly fire instantly emerged from her fingernail. The ghostly fire burned on her fingernail, approaching Madame Song's eyes. "Do you want to die?" the female ghost said coldly. "Shen Lang is a blessed star from heaven who came back to life. He is my son's guardian deity. You actually want to harm him. You're asking for death." The female ghost shrieked, and a terrifying ball of ghostly fire suddenly erupted from her back, then instantly vanished. Madame Song was directly scared into urinating herself, her soul scattered, desperately shaking her head. "I don't want to die! I don't want to die! Sister, please let me go!" Madame Song couldn't speak, but she still desperately tried. The female ghost said, "My son was able to live precisely because he was protected by him.
If you harm Shen Lang, you are harming my son. Then I will drag you down to the 18 layers of hell, tear you in 8 pieces, and fry you alive." Madame Song, who had just urinated again. "I don't dare! I don't dare!" The female ghost said, "Tonight Tian Hong will take you to the Zuwang Earl's mountain. In front of several high officials, she will make you identify Shen Lang as the killer of your son. Do you know what you should say then?" Madame Song nodded desperately, then desperately shook her head again, because she truly didn't know how to speak to fit the wishes of this female ghost sister. The female ghost said, "At first, no matter what Tian Hong says, you agree. But when you get to the Earl's Mountain, in front of all the important figures, you immediately renege and say that your son was injured by your husband Song Wei because he peeked at you bathing." "Ah!" Madame Song was surprised. The female ghost continued, "Then, in front of everyone, you identify Tian Hong, saying that she forced you to falsely accuse Shen Lang, saying that he killed your son, and ask the highest official to uphold justice for you." Madame Song was terrified. Tian Hong was a great villain. If she dared to identify Tian Hong, she would be beaten to death alive. The female ghost said, "Don't worry. After you identify Tian Hong, the Earl's Mountain will protect you. After Tian Hong is dead, you can go home, and I will reward you with 300 gold coins. You can take this money, remarry, and live a life 100 times richer than your current one." "Really?" Madame Song said, delighted. Golden sparks suddenly erupted from the female ghost's hand, and then she threw them towards the bottom of Madame Song's bed, saying, "I have already buried 30 gold coins under your bed. After you identify Tian Hong, you will dig out another 300 gold coins from under the bed. Is it to live or to die? Is it glory and riches or to descend to the 18 layers of hell? You choose!" Then, a puff of smoke rose. The female ghost's voice disappeared without a trace.